Test. Size of bitch. It just makes it way more stressful, you know? And like I feel like with a Lone Star event, you know, at least I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna get plenty of seat time and have my fun. And then like, if the comp goes well, that's like a bonus, you know? Which also makes it less pressure on you to do the comp, because you're not like, it's not all riding on the comp. Like if I don't do well in the comp, I wasted my trip. So you do a great job with your events.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful beginning. Awesome. Yeah. Even though Cy just pressed the start button, and that's now my intro.
Yeah, we missed. You missed. We've been having a conversation.
So this is Taylor Ray, and he has agreed on April 19th on Drift Week 10 to do the challenges for Drift Week. And this is video proof that he agreed to do it. He came up with the idea. I did not.
If they
I did not pester him.
I don't want any of the drivers complaining.
There's a 95% chance he doesn't do it and shows up 4 days late to the event.
There's a 33% chance. This is my third Drift Week and the only one I showed up late to. So 33.33% chance.
Okay. So for this interview, I want you to take a few deep breaths. And just relaxing for real. I want you to explain to me something in the car realm of things that you're excited about and passionate about and gets you interested in looking up details about it and learning about it and doing and being a part of. What in car culture besides no prep drag racing?
God! That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, then you can do no prep drag racing as your thing. I'm gonna be quiet and you're gonna look over at me and you're gonna tell the audience and myself what it is about this part of car culture that gets you excited. Because 10 years ago, it was probably drifting. That's what consumed you. You're online looking at stuff, watching YouTube videos, researching and everything else.
I can explain too that segue and why that's the case. Okay. It's not that I am like more excited about no prep drag racing than I am drifting. It's just like, you've been doing it a long time, and after so long, you know, the level of learning and progression like really starts to plateau, you know, and like, do you ever look up drifting nerdy technical thing? You don't. You just kind of like, not that you know everything, but you know so much about it that like there's very little like new information that comes in. Occasionally something new, like, oh wow, I didn't know like that car could do that or whatever, you know, but it's like, for the most part, you've already got like the information. You're not like bringing in new pieces. Whereas the no prep thing's cool because you are bringing in new pieces constantly. It's like, oh, like I think I've got it understood, and then I find some new piece of information. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it's like, there's so much to it in a way, you know, like we're building this car and then it's like, oh, we're gonna go, you know, do we go turbo or pro charger? And then it's like the pro charger for power management, like you only have to pull timing, whereas with the turbo setup, sometimes if you pull timing, it makes more boost. So then you're dealing with like multiple layers, trying to tune it for this different surface. And the no prep stuff's cool too, because it's like the exact opposite of what we push for in drifting. In drifting, it's always like, give us the most seat time. Whereas like no prep, you show up and your first battle or your first race is your first pass. So you don't get a chance to like go out there and do 5 passes and figure it out, you know? So it takes like some of the money game out of it. But that's why the no prep stuff interests me. Also, it's nice to have like a quantifiable, like you went faster, you didn't, you know? Whereas like I'm so used to drifting, and I don't know if you're like me, but like, you know, I hear people talking, they're like, yeah, I changed my toe. And it was and a 1/4 inch out, and then I put it back to 1/8 inch, and now it's great. And I'm like, dude, I can't tell. I literally won clutch kickers in my Miata, went home, checked the alignment, had 1 1/4 inch toe in. Had no clue. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, when I'm like, I don't have that strong of a drive to like play with all the nuanced setup things on a drift car, because I don't feel like it makes a difference that I notice for the most part, at least for me. So it's like that nerdy technical side of me that wants to like, how does this work? And how does this affect this? Like drifting is there's so many variables, it's really hard to tell. Like, oh, we changed the Ackerman from 0 to slightly negative, and now the car is like a little faster or holds angle better or whatever, you know? It's like the biggest adjustment you can feel is tire pressure. You know? Like you can take everything else, throw it out the window and just change tire pressure and it's gonna change the whole car. So I think that's why it interests me. It's like, it's like straightforward and like quantifiable and like just, it is what it is. You know, like I've always hated the judging subjective side of drifting. Like that part has always been the hardest part for me to like get past, you know? And I got used to it, you know? I thought for a long time, like, I was like, I can't imagine towing my car to the other corner of the country, to Seattle, and then losing a battle that I felt like I shouldn't have lost, and having to go 40 hours back home. Like, that would be brutal, you know? But obviously, you have to accept that as part of the game, you know? And with the drifting, like, so on the no prep side of things, I think that's kind of what like Clutch Kickers was like, of comp drifting, it was like no prep. Like you can show up with a $200,000 pro car or a 350Z, like it doesn't really matter because like in no prep, the surface is the equalizer. That's why like what's really popular is the back of the track stuff where they're not even racing on the prep surface, because the worse the surface is, the less power you can use. Therefore, you know, money doesn't really buy you the winning setup. And like I feel like the smaller, more technical track, run what you've run style is kind of like that. And I appreciate the direction of like the tire rule thing, like these different series, like doing a 265 rule or a 235 rule. And I see the point, and I'm not saying it's not, that it doesn't work or it's like not good, but I think the problem is when you limit it tire-wise, you say like, all right, 265, 200 tread wear. There's gonna be one tire that works way better than all the others. So then it's like, if you're not on that tire, you're not gonna be competitive. So then it takes a lot of the parity out of it. Whereas like, if you have just kind of like an open tire rule, just like it is what it is, it's like, you know, I can bring my 315 Nittos, which aren't like the world's stickiest tire. They're meant to like last, and they last really well, and you get your grip out of the size. And this other guy can bring his super soft, super sticky 265s, and we're all gonna be relatively similar. It allows more parity in that sense. And like, it's not so serious, I guess. So I gotta keep talking about, what should I talk
about it. Like, you were so passionate in the way you were describing it and you were excited about it. I love the idea. To me, no prep drag racing is a bunch of people illegally going out at night, which gets...
No, you do it on a track, like at a track.
Oh, I know, but the stuff that you showed me was all illegal.
Yeah, some of it is.
You just don't have the balls for it, probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
I don't have the balls for it either.
But like what I'm talking about is like at the track. Like they race on the backside of like the shutdown. So they race from like the other end of the track, and that's pretty similar to a street.
But I was gonna say, you don't go to it in person, do you?
I went to one at OSW just a couple weekends. You know what's funny?
But just one?
I've only been to one, because like Florida, there's not a ton, but this is kind of a funny story on that segment. So I went to one at OSW. So I've been to two. So there was one at OSW, and it was like a front side, which like I've never been, of the no prep, I want to do the backside stuff. The front side stuff, you're racing, like they just don't prep the surface, but it's like, it's still a really good surface. So you need a lot of power to be competitive, blah, blah, blah. So there was a 3-day at OSW, and that no prep was going on. So, and there's some people I knew from a different YouTube channel there. So I went, like, checked it out, and I gotta be honest, it was like, when you like meet your hero, like something you're excited about, like you're kind of, like I was disappointed. I was like, this wasn't as like exciting as I thought it was gonna be, you know? It almost felt like we were at a testing tune, like these dudes pull up, they do a pass, it's over, you know? Whereas like watching the videos, it made it look so exciting, you know? But then I went to one just like a couple weeks ago, and it was at OSW, but it was the backside where they're racing from the shutdown. And it was like a much better turnout, and like everyone's like on the start line, and like, it was really cool. It was like what I expected it to be. And I had like a similar experience. This kind of sounds like a random story, but almost the same experience with, I listened to Atmosphere, which is like a underground hip hop guy, whatever.
I listened to it.
Okay, yeah, so Atmosphere, since I was like 16, you know, Atmosphere, Brother Ali, but so when I was like 19, I was dating this girl that was like very like controlling, and there was an Atmosphere show, and my two friends that I worked with were like, oh, we'll go to this one. And then she got all mad. She's like, no, like, why wouldn't you want me to go with you? So I had to go a different date with her, even though she hated Atmosphere. And I went, and it was just a terrible experience. It was like, I've been listening to this music, like it's my favorite. And I go, and like the concert wasn't set up right, because they were like on with a band called Slightly Stoopid. So like the audio was set up more for that. Then it was just like a super letdown. And then years later, another friend of mine who like, likes Atmosphere. His girlfriend like planned us to all go to this Atmosphere concert in Orlando with Brother Ali and Atmosphere in like a small venue, and it was just them, and it was like amazing. You know, it was like, A, I was with the right people. B, like the audio was set up better so you could actually hear the lyrics, and they did all the songs that like you wouldn't even think they'd play at a show, and it was like just amazing. You know, it was like. It's just funny because the no prep thing was the exact same experience. It was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm not that interested in doing this again. And then, oh, wow, this is great. Sorry, did I move out of the camera frame?
No, you're good.
But yeah, so the no prep thing's just, I've never been interested in drag racing. And like, I feel like drag racing is a nice thing to do, to like be able to, I don't know, have a goal and push towards it. That's why I think like the challenges on Drift Week would be neat, because you could have like a goal. You know, like it is amazing to come out and just for the seat time, but I think for people coming and making content, it would be a lot easier to get people to watch if there was some sort of like, okay, like at the last track I won the entry comp, and like, you know, if whoever gets the most points in all the challenges, like wins something, you know, whatever it is, I don't know. It's like of all my drift videos, comp videos always did decent because there was a goal, you know, and people want to see like that storyline. Whereas if you're just like going out and just drifting, it's like there's no goal for people to follow along to, especially people who aren't that into drifting. So they don't really, you know, you look at 5 of your runs and you can see the difference in every single run. Whereas someone else, they're like, is this the same run over and over again? No, like this one I went like out to the rumble strip like perfectly. So then I linked this next section with a lot of angle and like rode the edge of the, you know, but like most like normal people who aren't that into drifting don't notice that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you showed us when we were on the last Drift Week, you were so excited to show us like the illegal side of no prep drag racing. When it was on the street, I was gonna say the YouTube videos were very interesting to watch and kind of entertaining because they were underground. They're not actually underground, but they were above ground, but they were like illegal, underground.
Right.
There was a start and a stop and two people going against each other with vastly different cars and all of these different things, and like the police would come and like the people would get arrested and go to jail. It was a very good storyline of like someone that's gonna win, someone that's gonna lose, real danger from their cars being blown up, from them driving these things. Like they would be coming back from their lap, or like lights would flick on from the cops while they're going down the straight. It kind of had it all.
Yeah.
And you're watching something and you're like, this can't be legal. I can't believe this is online. And it had just all those like things of danger, a storyline, a winner, a loser. They were very palatable, so I could see how you enjoy that. And then I could very easily see how that you go watch that at a racetrack for your first time, like OSW, and they're going down on the prep surface, and you're like, this isn't cool at all.
Yeah, you're like,
you've removed everything cool about this.
Yep, 100%. And that's why the back of the track stuff's so cool, and the back of the track stuff has grown immensely just in the time like I've been following it, because it's like, it's kind of like, not more, but you can be the guy, like, you can be clever and beat money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas like, I could be wrong, but in prep drag racing, it's like, you kind of got to have money and be clever. You know, like the guys that run like the prep stuff, like good ones like X275 or whatever, or what do they call it? Radial versus. Anyway, there's like a class, and they run a 275 radial tire, not even that big of a tire. And these guys are running like, to be competitive, it seems like you've got to run like a low 4 to into the 3s in the 8th mile, which means you're going 200 plus in the 8th mile.
200 miles an hour?
In the 8th mile.
Holy cow.
So you're talking about cars that are 3,000, and that's, you know, that's half the quarter mile, 8th mile.
Yeah.
You're talking about cars that are 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 horsepower. To be competitive on a 275, that's like the smallest tire realistically you can even run.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? So it's like the money is just, you know, you go to a prep drag race and it's like everyone's got a stacker and a toter. Like it's so money centric. Whereas the no prep stuff, you've got the guy who shows up with his open trailer with his car that he built in his garage, and if he's clever and he sets it up right and he like gets his tune right, he can beat the guy there with the stacker, because it's, you got to go out there and look at the surface and go, okay, like I think I can leave on 3 pounds of boost and 4,000 RPM, and then ramp it in this much, And it's like, if you don't do enough, you might get beat, but if you do too much, you're gonna blow the tires off. So there's so many like variables that you have to be clever. Like there's a guy, KC Max, his name's Ryan Mitchell. He was in Kansas City, and he's like, I would say he's probably the best, like undisputed in like the no prep stuff, no matter what they're doing. But his car, like, I mean, it's a rowdy car. It's like a big block Pro Charger thing, but it's like, you look at it and it's like, you know, like our drift cars. Like it's not like some shop built $500,000 Pro Mod thing. And he wins everything. He beats those Pro Mod crazy, you know, someone had paid a shop $1 million to build him cars all the time because he's clever, you know? So anyway, that's what I think. That's probably what interests me the most, is that you can be clever and it not be such just a money game. Like, oh, if you don't have 3,000 horsepower, like, might as well go home, you know?
It's interesting you find that cool because it has a technical aspect and everything that like illegal street takeovers don't.
Yeah.
Like illegal street takeovers are very similar, but it's mindless tomfoolery.
Exactly. There's no skill. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna learn and get better and progress. That's like why I've never been that into off-roading, because like living in Florida, it's just like mudding, and it's like, okay, how do you get better at mudding? You know, like I need like
you drink more beer and use more gas pedal.
Right, that's pretty much it, you know? Like I need a path of like progression. And I think that's what's hard for me with drifting, and I think that's why a lot of people end up doing comps. Like I have such a love-hate with comps. Like sometimes, a lot of times, I hate comps. I'm not like the guy who wants to go compete. I don't think I'm the best. I want to go see where I stack up, but like I'm not like delusional and thinking like, I'm the best driver ever. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get this license, I'm gonna go to FD and I'm gonna be the best. Like, you know, I've had opportunities to try to go to FD if I wanted to, but I'm just like, I'm not at the moment passionate enough about it. And I also am not delusional enough to think I'm just like so good that if I just get there and everything's right, I'm gonna beat everybody. Like I don't, you know what I mean? So like, but you get to a certain point with fun drifting with where you kind of like, you plateau. Like you're not, you know, you're not pushing yourself anymore. You know, it's like here, like I can take the F80 and like go to, I had never done this track. Never even knew what the layout was for the street legal section. And it's like first lap, like I had to clutch kick a couple times because I scrubbed too much speed. I'm like, oh, this corner opens up. But by the second lap, I could carry momentum, go through the whole track without a clutch kick. You know, and it's like, you get to that point where like you're not really progressing anymore. So then comp is that new challenge where it's like, okay, I've got to go here, I've got to hit all these marks, and I got to do it like right here, right now. And I think that's something a lot of people miss. They'll be like, oh, when we're out here tandem with my boys and we're doing 20 laps in a row, I can run my friend's door the whole lap. And it's like, well, yeah, when you do 20 laps in a row, but now go sit in your trailer for 3 hours, then get in your car and go run that dude's door for the whole lap. Like it's such a different thing. But now, like now that I've been like, haven't done comps, like regular comps in like a year, it's like so hard to get the drive to go back. Like I'm just like, what I think of when I think of comps is sitting in my hot car on a 95, 100% humidity day, just melting for 2 hours to do 4 laps. That's what pops into my head. I don't think about winning. I don't think about, you know, the intensity of battling. Like all I think about is being just like stuck sitting in my hot car forever to go do 4 laps. And then it's like the pressure, I put a lot of pressure on myself just because I'm like, dude, I put a lot of time into getting here and then practicing and all this. And if I mess it up, like I'm gonna be frustrated with myself because I'm like, dang, I just wasted all that time, you know? I think that's why Clutch Kickers was also great, because it was a very like laid back environment. You got like good amount of practice. You know, it was a nice spot where it wasn't ever super, super hot, you know? Because, I mean, it was hot, it's Florida, but like it was never like brutal. Like when we went to the Freedom Factory, the first round when Clutch Kickers went to the Freedom Factory was the hottest drifting experience of my life. Like I think I counted, I drank like 15 bottles of water. Like it was like being in an oven. It had to be like 100% humidity, but like almost 100 degrees. It was miserable, you know? And then like at the end of the day, you got a headache. Like you're like, oh, I hope this headache goes away for tomorrow because like I got to be at my best, you know? It's just like, I don't like it. I don't like that whole experience. But comps are, you know, I don't know. I have a love-hate with comps.
I agree. Do you have imposter syndrome?
I don't know. I hear a lot of people say that they do, and then I feel like it's just a trendy thing to say that you have imposter syndrome. I think with driving, sometimes yes, sometimes no. What's weird for me is like when I started competing, it was at your event, went to Pro-Am, I realized it was like 5 years ago, like almost to the day or something, because it was at Police Academy. And I saw a memory pop up on my phone from that round. But I had seen so many people go to Pro-Am, people that I knew that were good drivers. You know, I'd see people who were delusional, there's a lot of those, think they're good drivers, and their friends from high school are like, yeah, bro, you're so good, like you're the best. And then they're like, I'm the best, I'm gonna go do this, you know? And then they flop. But I'd seen good drivers go into Pro-Am and fail. And I was like, I'm the type of person, I used to be the type of person that thinks things are easy, like, oh, that looks easy. But I flipped, I'm like, shit's always harder than it looks like it is. You always see something and you're like, that doesn't look that hard, but you have to know it's gonna be harder than you think. So I thought Pro-Am would be the same way. I'm like, there's gotta be something I'm missing, you know? And I'm gonna fail. And then I won that first round. And then everyone was like, oh, it's because it's a small car, small track, the tires, whatever. There's a whole thing. So then went to TMS, won that. I did get lucky because Jack Davis missed a gear and he gapped me on the run up. Because every fast car had been a turbo car, and I just like expected his car to be slow out of the hole. Because my Miata, when it had the little 350 horsepower 5.3, so fast out of the hole, because I would leave in first and it would just take off. Anyway, won that, and like all these times, I'm like, I'm not gonna do well. Went to that one, I'm like, I'm not gonna do well. Won. Went to Clutch Kickers, the very first round of it. Ended up in the finals against Alec Onadale and won it one more time. And that was that tipping point where I finally started like, okay, I can't keep convincing myself that I'm not gonna do well. Like now I'm gonna have to start to have that self-belief that like, okay, I've done well all these times, I'm gonna do well, and then that's when I'm gonna fail, and that's when it's gonna suck. Because every time I've set myself up to be okay with failure, and then now I'm gonna lose that ability to believe that I'm gonna fail and be okay with it. And then it's ebbed and flowed since there. I went out in the top 16 after that one time, and it sucked.
That's embarrassing, yeah.
Yeah, it was just
Really?
like brutal. I mean, granted, that was top 64, 32, 16, but like it was like brutal. Because every other comp I'd ever done, I'd been in the top 3 at least, even like the street legal one I did. So it was like, just, it sucked. It was hard. And then once I got that one out of the way, it wasn't as bad, you know?
You know what the worst part is? When someone walks up and they go, oh, who do you have next? And you're like, oh, I got knocked out.
I'm out. Well, that was like the driver who I lost to. That was before I realized that I needed to switch my driving style. Like I was doing bro lines for everybody, and like I wouldn't handbrake. Like I would just literally try to not handbrake at all through the track, so it was like smooth and easy to follow. Because I was used to driving with friends still. This was Clutch Kickers. And I did that lead, and the person was all over my door. And then I go to follow them, and they are just like, e-brake, you know, like terrible to follow. And they came up to me after, like, bro, that was such a sick lead. Thanks for the sick lead. And I was like, in my head, like, dude, I wish I could say the same. Like, you gave me a terrible lead run, you know? Mm-hmm. But I was also just salty because it was my first time going out early. Mm-hmm. And I had finally got that. I'm like, I got this. This will be an easy one. I'll win this one, you know? So, I don't know. Comp drifting, I think the other thing I know prep's kind of the same, but it's like, Vaughn, I randomly saw a video of Vaughn talking about like off-road versus drifting, and he made this same point. And it's something I've tried to tell people that like haven't done comp drifting. It's like, comp drifting, you have like one shot. Like you make one mistake and it's over, you're done. You know, unless the other guy makes a mistake. But like, if you go 2 tires off track and you zero, like most likely you're done, you know? Whereas like road racing, like a lot of other motorsports, like you can make a mistake and then like, okay, now I'm back on track. Now let me catch the guy who just passed me, you know? Whereas drifting, it's so high pressure because like one mistake and you're out, it's done, you're over, you know? And that's just brutal. And I think the people that like, all they do is compete, like it's just gotta ruin drifting for you, you know? I don't know how people do that. But it just kind of depends on your area. It's like some areas, like everyone competes. Like I was talking to the Irish guy, Dylan, is that his name? Yeah, and that's what he was saying. Because I'm like, what's in the water in Ireland? Like there's so many like of the best drivers in the world come from a relatively small country, you know, in the grand scheme of things. And he's like, that all they really have is comps. Like they don't have just like fun days for the most part. Like, especially like back in the day when like James Dean was coming up and stuff, it's just like you go out and it's a comp, that's it. So it's like, I wonder how different the mentality is for them. You know, like for us, it's like, or at least for me, it's like, oh, a comp, like I got to be serious for this because this is a comp, you know, I got to make sure I get to the track on time and my car's ready and check everything over. Whereas like a fun event, I'm like, well, I think my wheel's about to fall off. Probably be all right, you know?
Yeah.
But I wonder if for them it's so normal that like they don't feel the pressure as much.
Yeah, I don't think it's that, because there's so many places in the world that don't have a lot of grassroots events. Like England kind of only has comps, and they have it on big tracks, like F1 tracks and stuff. But it doesn't translate into them having the best drivers in the world. No knock on them.
Right.
Ireland is kind of special. Same thing with like their MMA guys, you know, like, and everything else.
It's true.
I think that maybe it's a country that has a big chip on its shoulder or something like that and had a really tough time. And anybody that grew up at a certain time, like hard times make hard people or whatever, and soft times make soft people, or however that quote goes.
It's
maybe
hard times,
hard times make
hard men make soft times.
Oh, that's
soft
right.
times make soft men.
There you go.
Who
That's
make
not a
and
porn
then
quote
soft
either.
men make hard times.
Yeah. So maybe them having a difficult time for many decades or something created a lot of really good people at whatever they were doing. And they were tough and everything else. Where like American kids are not very tough.
No.
They don't follow their dreams as hard and everything else. I was going to say, so we talked about what you're passionate about, which was kind of drifting adjacent. It wasn't drifting, but it still was car culture.
I still love drifting.
And you
though.
didn't
I mean,
mention your jet boat once.
That's true, dude. That's
thought you were gonna say
other-
jet boat.
Shoot, I should have said that.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
one quick note on the jet boat. The jet boat thing. People give me a lot of crap for the jet boat. Like last time I went to an OSW event, everyone was like, "Where's the jet boat? I thought you'd be on your jet boat." Well, first off, it's like for whatever reason on Instagram, the jet boat videos pop off. Like out of 10 reels I posted, 6 are over 1 million views, and like 4 are over like 10 to 20 million views. So I think what it is like since they pop off, then like, the people who follow me, those are like the only ones they see. Whereas I'll post a drift reel and it gets like 50,000 views, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like they're never gonna see that. But on the jet boat topic, the jet boat has kind of been an eye-opening experience for me because I'm like, I've spent all this time like, oh, I wanna build this car or that car or this car or that car for this purpose or this purpose. And then you're like, there's so many other things, like other motorsports related things that you can do. And it's like the value per effort and dollar. Like the jet boat, I can literally fill up the tank of gas and go ride literally by my house, go to the river, which is 5 minutes from my house. Probably 2 miles down, it splits off to like a back river, which is like pretty fun, but it's like kind of big, like almost like a big fast track. Off of there is like a creek that goes literally 40 miles. And it's just like, it's like imagine a tollgate road that went 40 miles and you're in a drift car that never kills tires. And you can just drift for 40 miles straight.
So cool. Is it a 2-seater?
Mine's a 4-seater.
Oh, I need to come.
Yeah, you should.
Go ride.
You will, dude, you got to do it.
Okay.
It's so fun. But what's nice about it is like the effort ratio. It's like I can literally just hook it up to my truck. Like sometimes I'll go after work, not now because the sun sets so early, but like summer, you know, it's like I normally work till 8 or 9, but I just like, if I stop at 6, it takes me like 10 minutes to like throw some ice in my cooler, some sodas, hook up the boat, go down to the river, go ride around for an hour and a half. And it just like resets me, like being out in the woods, on the water. But then the ripping aspect of it, it's like you're ripping around turns, you have no idea what's coming around the next turn. You come around, there's a tree, you gotta jump the tree, you know, like it's just like so much fun and it's so low effort. Like I don't prep the boat, I literally just like hook it up and go put gas in it. And then I go ride all day, literally like way more seat time than I'd ever get drifting in one day. And that's it. That's all I had to do. So the effort to enjoyment ratio is very high.
Okay.
But I think it is a one-off. Like I feel like a side-by-side I wouldn't use as much. I feel like there's a lot of other things that I wouldn't use as much.
The year is 2026. You're running your YouTube channel and you're starting to get a little bit frustrated that there's 10 more Whistle and Diesel channels and 20 more Grind Hard Plumbing channels that are stealing your audience because they're making amazing content that's super clickbaity, or like, you know, projects like on Grind Hard Plumbing where I'm sure you've seen that channel.
Yeah.
Where they start off and they build something start to finish in one episode, or like the excavator guy that takes apart an excavator and rebuilds it. There's so many good channels popping up that are stealing your audience. And there's not an infinite amount of more people getting on YouTube, but there's a ton of great new channels in 2026 getting made. What would you go back and tell yourself to do in 2025 to make your channel more interesting and take it in a direction that keeps your audience excited, but doesn't involve like building supercars or something that's going to break the bank and go crazy? What cool ideas are you going to do in 2025 to take your audience on an amazing adventure and grab their hand and pull them along with you on your journey?
Wow, that's a good question. It's a tough one because
you need to do it in 2025 before everybody walks away in 2026.
Right. Yeah, I feel like one of the bigger things that differentiates me now, that's like something I want to continue to do, is that like I show the details of the work. Like there's a lot of Grindhard Plumbing does show like the details, but like there's not a lot of channels like show the physical work, like to where like I like to learn something when I watch something, even not like a how-to, but like if you're watching someone put an engine in a drift car and then you see them do something, you learn something from that. You're like, oh, that's interesting that they like put their oil filter housings here. I wonder why they do, something to get your brain turning just by watching. But I think really the biggest thing that I need to improve on personally is like, for a long time I had like a terrible work-life balance. Like I would work 7 days a week and I would never do anything. Like I'd never go spend a day jet boating or doing anything that wasn't content related because I'm like, I can't. Like I gotta get a video out, and it's like everything I can do to just keep the hamster wheel turning, And then lately I've gotten better about like not worrying about it so much. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I think I had a video go up today, but like it's been like 10 days, like because I came on this trip, But so I think I need to like come back into the center a little bit. Like I think if I could put out like 2, say 20 to 45 minute videos that are like, packed densely with content in progress a week, that'd be a good point. Whereas right now it's like, if I want one really good video that's got like a lot of content packed in there, it's like one a week, Mm-hmm. So really and the project, it's tough. It's tough to know the answer because like, are you good over there, Si? It's tough to know the answer because, when you're trying to pick projects and stuff, if you go too off the wall, like you won't get people just like won't have any idea what it is. But if you're like too close to normal, it's like everything's been done and everything's like continuing to be done. So that's tricky. Like trying to do something different, but like not pointless either, because like that's my thing. Like if it gets to a point where I'm building stuff just to build stuff, just to turn the content machine, like I don't want to do it. I'll go find something else to do.
Really? You're not going to try and make sure that you entertain your audience and compete with the other channels?
Not if I'm not passionate about it. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to like build something that's just like wild that I have no interest in building. That's not saying that I won't be interested in building something wild that will be entertaining.
Can I cut in for a second?
Yeah.
It's your job. You've built this audience, and it's your job and your career to make this work sometimes, even if you're not passionate about something. Everyone's following along with you, and you do need to give your audience what they deserve sometimes as a bridge to keep you going so you can have what you want from it in the future with another passion project. You can't always expect to be completely passionate about something you're doing. And it's not fair for the audience to always come along with you when you're passionate about crocheting, and that's not what the channel's about.
Right.
You sometimes have to pander to the audience and do a good job. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. But I think it really translates to the audience when you are passionate versus when you are not.
I understand that, but the audience is there for a specific thing sometimes. So I was going to say, you do need to give them what they want a little bit.
But see, I do like a huge variety of like, from bus to shop to house. What's funny is like sometimes people will get like annoyed. They're like, oh, you've been doing house projects, And I'm like, what is it? I thought it was a car channel. But then like literally the house projects get more views than the car projects.
Oh, no, I get that. I was going to say, you can definitely branch off and stuff.
My point is just like, I want to do what it takes to figure out and continue to do stuff that I am passionate about. What I mean by that is like, I'm not willing to build something that's just like not quality, has no purpose, that's just like some off the wall thing just to be like, look at this crazy thing, because I think that's stupid. I think I can continue to find things that I'm passionate about building.
So what is that in 2025? Spit it out in 5 seconds.
Mainly like some sort of like really intricate tube chassis car.
Okay, I love it. That's a really good
Like the
question.
3D Magic Mike dude and who's the other dude? I can't even pronounce his Instagram
In another
name.
5 seconds, what is it going to be of? Are you going to put a 787B body or whatever?
No, so
on
it would be,
F40?
my goal is, originally it was like a Datsun 510, like an old rusty Datsun 510 body that just like you can take on and off the chassis and like road car, but now I'm leaning towards like something like mid-engine rear-wheel drive, like rally car, like old Lancia body or something where it's like the body's patinaed, but then you can just like put it on down on the tube chassis, and the tube chassis's got a bunch of detail.
I love it. That's like a 100-episode series.
Right, and that's what I want to do, and I think that's what, so far, it seems like my viewers like the most. Like my vet build series I thought wouldn't do that well, and it like carried momentum all the way through because there was a lot of intricate work. That's what I like doing.
And then what will you do? What's the finished purpose of that car? Is it going to be a drift car? Is it going to be a road race car? Is it just
That would
going to be
be
a car you
like
drive around?
rally, like
Rally
not to do
tube
like
chassis.
rally racing, but like to be able to go like blast dirt roads and, you know, because I was like originally it was going to be a grip car, but I'm like, how much am I really going to be able to use like a grip car tube chassis thing? Maybe a drift car. Honestly, maybe at this point, maybe it'll be a drift car. I feel like people can either a drift car or something rally, something fun that I could like go use. I like the idea of something off-road more oriented because then it's like you can go like just like go to a dirt road and go like rip it and have fun. Like I'm trying to build things that you can enjoy more frequently. That's like been my goal lately.
I love that.
Not something that's like you enjoy it like once every 6 months. That's what I think so great about the F80, and I've tried to like convince my friends like to get rid of their project cars that like get driven once a year and get like a nice newer sporty car, because I'm like, you get to enjoy it. Yes, the peak enjoyment is not as high as your project car, but you get to enjoy it for so much more of a duration. Every day you drive it to the gas station, you're like, hell yeah, that thing looks sick. You know, you go to a track day every so, you know what I mean? Like you get longer duration of enjoyment.
I like that. That was a really like succinct idea. Build things that you can use more often, because so many YouTube projects are like one use or like flex master things.
Right, you use it once, you show that it kind of works, but it's never 100%, and then that's it, it goes away.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
I always think of like the RX-7 or like the rotary builds, like a 5-rotor or whatever. Like you can.
What
like,
are you going to really do with that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to like get a laptop out to start the thing,
Right.
and like every time you cross your fingers and like hope it's not gonna cost you a house to fix.
Right. Which it's cool, that's cool in its own
Now
right.
everybody's like, they're reliable.
I know. And like for me, the tube chassis thing is a build that's more about the journey than the destination. Everything I built, it's like, I need to build this car so I can get it done for this thing. And like, you're kind of always in a bit of a rush. Like it'd be nice to build a car where like, it doesn't matter if it takes me 5 years. Like the point is to like enjoy the build process. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get that. 1-seater or 2-seater?
It'd be 2-seater. Like I said, it'd be like an old, like there's like these Lancia Scorpions that are pretty cheap, and
Yeah.
like you know, basically hollow out the inside and like have it to where you could literally
Drop
just
it
like
like an
take the
RC
body
car,
on.
right?
Yeah, but like leave the body like patina like with some rust spots and stuff. So it's like this kind of like old vintage patinaed thing on the outside, and then like you take the body off and it's like all this nice work underneath. I think that'd be
Right.
really cool. And that keeps me excited. That's my point. I keep learning, the audience keeps learning, keep pushing myself to do things I haven't done before, harder things, and learn.
Well, in this interview, I pretended to be a therapist, and this was like the best interview. You were passionate about everything you talked about. You're excited. I didn't have to interrupt or like say anything hardly the whole time. I can be super monotone out of the video. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for sharing all that stuff. Do you want to say anything as we end?
No, well, Drift Week is awesome. Drift Week's the best.
Thanks.
Every time I come to Drift Week, I'm like, this is the best. And then sometimes I'm like, man, I can miss this one. And then one time here, I'm like, thankfully I didn't miss this one. Also, Lone Star events, really happy with those.
Thank
and
you.
I'm gonna come drive more this year. And
Okay.
thanks for putting on Drift Week.
Thank you.
And I hope you do it for a long time.
The same thing I'm going to say at the end of a bunch of videos on this. It is so cool. Like Ben Hobson drove in my series. I had no idea who he was. He's now a professional Monster Energy drink, Ford-backed, factory-backed driver. Chelsea's the same way, like Ford factory-backed energy drink sponsor, like the highest level
Right.
of drifting you can get. You the same way, like you guys are the highest ranked like YouTubers kind of thing. We have so many amazing people. Cody Slack, like runs BC marketing. Tyler Capper works for Larry Chen. So many people that I'm surrounded with are passionate about what they do. And even though we all seem like sloppy idiots in person, you know what I mean? Like just being jokey and doing whatever and
not taking
whatever
things
we want.
super serious.
Yeah, and like, crashing around on track and going on adventures around the world. We all get to do such insane stuff. And we have so many amazing friends at the absolute peak of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So I want to thank you for being around and like thank Chelsea and Adam and, like Ben Hobson and Nick Novak and Tyler Capper and Cody Slack. And, I can't name everybody, but
It's
you know
crazy
so many
to
people
see,
too.
Like Adam now, like I remember like we joked that I was like the drift dad, like the soccer dad when I went to his first events with him and was like giving him tips, and now he's like the highest ranked driver in FD, US ranked driver in FD.
Adam is?
Yeah, he ranked 5th in the whole season, which is insane.
Oh,
and he was
is everybody else foreign?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but someone mentioned it, and I was like, that's crazy.
His pursuit of perfection idea is hilarious. Like, he really is going for that. He's really good at stuff.
He's a hard-working, driven dude. But it's cool to see all these people succeed.
But also, we're just like banging around Japan with them in a shitty rental car and like staying in hilarious places for weeks at a time. It's cool that we get to be around all these people. So I just want to say thank you, and to the YouTube audience for being around this stuff and seeing our journey. I've been interviewing you for like 5 years now, and every time I come back, you're at a higher rank YouTubing thing, doing cooler stuff with crazier projects, with more beautiful support from your fan community. Same thing with Chelsea. Yeah. Chelsea's like literally a retired professional athlete now. Just coming to Drift Week, chilling with us for weeks at a time and doing crazy stuff. So thank you so much to everybody. I hope you have a great time. I will see you on, I know Drift Week starts April 19th. 2025, but I'll see you on April 25th when you show up.
I'm out.
Thank you.
Yeah.